Have you ever encountered someone who initially seems charming and kind, but the more you interact with them, the more you feel that something is off? They always appear to play the victim, skillfully manipulating others to gain sympathy, yet they never take responsibility for their actions. It's highly likely that you are dealing with a covert narcissist, a master of disguise in the world of narcissism. Unlike the loud narcissists who love to show off, covert narcissists hide behind a facade of humility and vulnerability. They manipulate in subtle ways, quietly planting toxic seeds in your mind, gradually eroding your confidence and making you dependent on them. So how can you recognize these covert narcissists? Let's explore the signs to identify them and protect yourself from toxic relationships. If overt narcissists flaunt their ego in an exaggerated and ridiculous manner, these individuals are far more sophisticated. They hide behind a facade of humility, sometimes even pretending to be weak, fragile, and vulnerable. Their arrogance and manipulative nature are masked by an artificial front, making it difficult for us to recognize them. We need to equip ourselves with the necessary knowledge to see through the fake facade and protect ourselves from the harm they may cause. So, what are the signs to identify a covert narcissist? Below are some common characteristics. They come on too strong from the very beginning. Be cautious of the rain of love that pours down on you right from the first meeting. Covert narcissists often deploy the love-bombing tactic, a mix of over-the-top compliments and tragic stories about their life. "You're truly special," or "I've never met anyone who moves me the way you do." These sweet words are often paired with heartbreaking tales about cruel ex-lovers or a painful past. Their goal is to paint themselves as deeply wounded souls yearning for true love. This can easily evoke your empathy, make you open your heart, and create a desire to heal them. Don't be fooled by this vague sweetness. Behind the facade of fragility and the victim narrative could be a liar and a manipulator. Are their stories about awful exes even true? Or were they the ones causing the pain? Over time, the perfect mask will fall, revealing a harsh reality. What seemed like an intense rain of love will transform into a cheap and ridiculous act. Their tactics often emphasize speed. These individuals aim to push the relationship forward rapidly, from promises of engagement, moving in together, to having children. Their goal is to trap you in their web of love, making it easier to control and manipulate you. To avoid becoming prey, take charge by slamming the brakes on the relationship. Don't let sweet words and passionate actions cloud your judgment. Take the time to observe and evaluate them objectively. For instance, if they claim to love animals, but you witness them kicking a dog simply for being in the way, is that claim trustworthy? One effective way to expose their true nature is to tactfully ask about their past relationships. Pay attention to how they speak about their exes. Do they often assign blame, portraying themselves as pitiful victims? Do their stories contain inconsistencies, lack logic, or change over time? Stay alert and trust your intuition. Don't rush into a whirlwind romance only to discover later that you placed your trust in someone unworthy. Genuine love takes time to mature, and only when their words align consistently with their actions can you safely give your heart. They always portray themselves as unlucky individuals. Everyone faces challenges in life, but when you're around a narcissist, it seems like their difficulties are endless and never-ending. They frequently lament failed business ventures, unpaid debts, or moments of loneliness because no one truly understands them. Have you ever wondered why they do this? In reality, it's a calculated game orchestrated by their narcissistic ego. A game where you are merely a supporting character to fulfill their personal needs. First and foremost, they crave your attention. For a narcissist, attention is not just a source of joy, it's essential sustenance for their distorted ego. That ego needs to be inflated, acknowledged, and basked in the glow of the attention you provide. They want to feel like the center of everything, the special person everyone must care about and worry over. For them, attention is a means of asserting power and influence. As a result, they fabricate or exaggerate their hardships, not just to gain your sympathy, but also to make you admire their so-called resilience. Secondly, narcissists exploit your compassion. They know exactly how to tug at your heartstrings, making you feel responsible and turning you into their unofficial caretaker. You may feel compelled to help them, to rescue them from the suffering they've painstakingly constructed. Unbeknownst to you, you're giving away your money, resources, and even your precious time. To them, your compassion is an infinite resource they can exploit. Lastly, it's a cunning trap designed to keep you under their control. Narcissists don't genuinely need you. They need the feelings you provide to feed their ego. When you're drained and depleted, they've achieved their goal. They never give anything in return because their aim isn't to build a relationship, but to exploit. To them, your emotions and empathy are merely tools to fill the endless void of their insatiable ego. All of this happens because narcissists study you meticulously from the start. They silently read you, identifying what tugs at your heartstrings and the vulnerabilities they can exploit. They constantly test you, placing you in difficult situations to gauge your compassion, financial capacity, and most importantly, your limits. Will you be forgiving enough to put out the fires they start? Will you sacrifice everything for them? By the time you recognize the pattern, you may already be ensnared in their web of manipulation. It's crucial to stay vigilant, maintain healthy boundaries, and not let their sob stories or fabricated hardships consume your energy and resources. You recognize the aggression behind the shy exterior. At first, they may appear shy, quiet, even reserved. The way they keep their distance from others, their occasional avoidance of eye contact, and their demeanor that seems as though they don't want to bother anyone, can easily lead you to mistake them for a kind, harmless person. You might feel drawn to what appears to be sincere introversion, to their humility and the subtle restraint they artfully project. But be cautious, don't be too quick to believe this impression. One day, the perfect mask will slip, revealing the true personality hidden behind the facade of gentleness. You will realize that this shyness is actually a veneer meant to conceal a passive-aggressive nature accompanied by biting words. Their sharp judgmental remarks will surface, causing you to reevaluate everything you once thought about them. They won't hesitate to hurt you with cutting comments, and at times, their coldness will make you feel isolated in a relationship you once trusted. Do not confuse them with genuinely shy or introverted people. Sincerely shy individuals are often reluctant to communicate and avoid situations that make them feel pressured, but they are inherently kind-hearted and never aim to judge or hurt others. Such individuals value tranquility and shy away from being the center of attention. In contrast, covert narcissists are entirely different. They see themselves as superior, and their shyness is merely a calculated tactic to disguise their arrogance, disdain, and manipulative tendencies. Their shyness does not stem from insecurity, but serves as a tool to mask their true nature. They craft an image to gain your trust and sympathy, but ultimately, what they seek is to maintain power in the relationship, even to the extent of controlling your emotions. This gentleness is just a mask you must carefully peel back to uncover the person beneath, and when that happens, you will understand that their initial shyness was merely the prelude to a calculated story. They are sensitive and overreact to criticism. When someone criticizes you, your natural reaction might be to feel hurt, embarrassed, or even rejected. This is completely normal because all of us crave recognition and respect. However, what truly matters is how you handle such feedback. Will you embrace it as an opportunity to grow, or let it shake your confidence? Things become far more complicated when you encounter someone who is overly sensitive to even the slightest criticism. Such individuals not only struggle with negative feedback, but also react in ways that make you hesitant or fearful of interacting with them. These could very well be covert narcissists. According to psychiatrist Dr. Glenn Gabbard, covert narcissists possess an exceptionally thin skin. making them hypersensitive to any remarks, whether well-intentioned or accidental, which they perceive as weapons capable of deeply wounding them. They live in a world where their ego is guarded like a treasure, and any criticism, no matter how trivial, is seen as a personal attack. To them, any critique implies a devaluation of their worth. They convince themselves they are perfect and cannot bear the thought that anyone might think otherwise. When criticized, they often respond negatively and defensively. They may retreat into smug silence, convincing themselves you're not qualified to judge them, or they may distance themselves coldly, masking their hurt feelings. In some cases, they can become aggressive and hostile, even seeking revenge through subtle means like manipulation, defamation, or undermining your reputation in front of others. This not only harms you but leaves you feeling stifled and powerless in the relationship. Covert narcissists often demand that others adjust their behavior and words to avoid triggering them. You may find yourself weighing every word, second-guessing every small action, to prevent misunderstandings or avoid provoking their wrath. But ask yourself, do you truly want to live under such constraints indefinitely? Their excessive sensitivity and manipulative tendencies can gradually drain your mental energy, forcing you to sacrifice both your freedom of expression and your own sense of self-worth. What's crucial is to maintain your stance when dealing with such individuals. Don't let yourself get swept up in the emotional whirlwind they create. Stay alert and distinguish between constructive feedback and emotional manipulation. If you find that the relationship leaves you feeling more exhausted than fulfilled, don't hesitate to establish clear boundaries. Ultimately, you deserve to live in an environment where criticism is met with goodwill rather than a bat to protect an inflated ego. They are always the victim in their own story. A hallmark of covert narcissists is their tendency to justify their behavior and craft an image of themselves as pitiable victims in the eyes of others. Initially, you may easily be drawn into their narrative, especially if you're empathetic and willing to extend a helping hand to those in need. They skillfully use words and emotions to elicit your sympathy, convincing you that they are merely victims of fate, unfairly treated by life. However, over time, a harsh truth emerges. No matter how many opportunities they are given or how much sincere advice they receive, they never truly make an effort to improve themselves. Their lives remain stagnant, or worse, spiral further downward. They constantly find excuses to blame their circumstances or the people around them, perpetuating the tale of being abandoned, unloved, and mistreated. They paint a picture of a world rife with injustice, with themselves at the center, so that you can't help but feel sorry for them and continue to tolerate their selfish, negative behavior. Rather than striving to rise above their challenges and change, they resign themselves to the role of the victim to garner pity. This is in stark contrast to those who genuinely face difficulties, people who relentlessly persevere and overcome adversity to lead better lives. While others battle illness, poverty, or disabilities to find purpose in life, the covert narcissist remains passive, demanding attention and assistance from others. Deep down, they have no genuine desire to change or confront their flaws. For them, pity and reassurance from others are victories, tools to maintain their central role in relationships. Their ultimate goal isn't self-improvement or growth, but to secure unconditional care and attention from those around them. If you're not careful, you'll find yourself drained, emotionally and physically, trapped in a relationship where you are constantly giving without ever receiving the respect you deserve. Recognizing this dynamic is crucial. If you sense that your relationship with someone is disproportionately one-sided, where you are perpetually providing support without reciprocation or appreciation, it's time to reevaluate. You deserve connections where kindness and care are mutual, not a one-way drain on your energy and emotional well-being. 3. Lack empathy. One of the most striking and easily noticeable traits of covert narcissists is their lack of empathy, a chilling emptiness in their ability to understand and care about the feelings of others. They are not just indifferent to your experiences, but may even become irritated or annoyed when required to listen to your stories, especially if they gain nothing from doing so. At first, you might not detect this, as they often mask their indifference with a superficial display of concern. However, over time, you will sense an increasing emotional distance. When you share your joys or sorrows, their responses often feel cold or self-centered. For instance, if you talk about a recent success at work, instead of congratulating you, they might say something like, "Oh, that's okay, but I've achieved much more in the past." Or if you're going through a tough time, they might dismissively remark, "Don't exaggerate, I've had to deal with far worse." Such reactions leave you feeling ignored and undervalued. It doesn't stop at indifference. Covert narcissists often position themselves as the center of everything, feeling entitled to judge and criticize you while being completely intolerant of criticism aimed at them. For example, they might nitpick trivial aspects of your behavior, such as how you speak or dress, and compare you unfavorably to the perfection they ascribe to themselves. Statements like, "Why can't you be more refined? I would never make such mistakes," subtly manipulate you into feeling inadequate and unworthy. In their world, only they matter, and everyone else is merely a supporting character. Even if you open up and share your deepest emotions, they listen reluctantly, often cutting you off to redirect the conversation to themselves. Your joys or sorrows fail to move them, as they lack the capacity for genuine empathy. This cold detachment not only hurts, but also leaves you feeling isolated within the relationship. Their lack of empathy extends beyond personal interactions. For instance, when you face a serious issue, they may remain indifferent or exploit the situation to highlight themselves. If you're grieving the loss of a loved one, they might respond by sharing a sadder story about themselves to draw attention. In moments like these, it becomes clear that their concern is never truly about you. It's about maintaining their position as the center of attention. Covert narcissists live in a world where only they matter and everyone else exists merely to serve as a backdrop. Without enough awareness, you might find yourself sucked into their vortex, drained from constantly seeking their care, something they are never willing to give. Recognizing this dynamic and setting firm boundaries is crucial to protect yourself from the emotional toll of their cold, self-centered behavior. They exhibit smugness. Overt narcissists often display a characteristic behavior rooted in passive-aggressive tendencies, driven by envy and a blind belief in their own superiority. They see themselves as the center of the universe, deserving of special treatment, deep understanding, and unconditional admiration. However, when they don't receive the attention they crave, or when you refuse to acknowledge the greatness they so desperately ascribe to themselves, they become irritated, sulky, and passive-aggressively hostile. This passive-aggressive behavior is rarely overt, often cloaked in subtle gestures and attitudes. They might ignore you, act distant or cold, or dismiss your opinions and feelings superficially. For example, when you share an idea or accomplishment, they might roll their eyes, sigh, or respond with indifferent comments like, "Oh, that's nothing special." These reactions not only make you feel disregarded, but also devalue the effort and achievements you've worked hard to attain. Their dismissive behavior isn't limited to just you. They often extend it to those around them, family, friends, or colleagues. For instance, they might ignore heartfelt advice from loved ones, or openly express disappointment when a coworker receives recognition they feel should have been theirs. These behaviors collectively paint a picture of someone who appears harmless, but subtly sows discomfort and unease among those around them. Beneath their smug facade and detached attitude lies a profound insecurity. Covert narcissists crave attention and validation, but are too afraid to express this need openly. Instead, they use passive aggression as a tool to maintain control over relationships, compelling you to adjust your behavior to appease them. Their eye rolls, sighs, and cold demeanor are not just fleeting reactions. They are calculated signals to convey that you are not important enough or good enough to deserve their attention. For example, when you try to share an important project or a proud accomplishment, they might respond with something like, "Oh, I've done that before, but on a much larger scale." Such remarks not only dampen your joy, but also subtly assert their perceived superiority, Similarly, if they feel overshadowed in a given situation, they might forget promises, delay commitments, or ignore your requests as a form of covert retaliation. In summary, the passive-aggressive tendencies of covert narcissists are a key strategy they use to maintain a sense of control and reinforce their fragile egos. Beneath their aloof, distant exterior is someone desperate for attention and respect. However, rather than earning this through genuine connection and effort, they choose to manipulate others' emotions, leaving you feeling unsettled, questioning your worth, and ultimately drained by the relationship. Recognizing this pattern is essential to protecting your emotional well-being and reclaiming your sense of self-worth. They are irresponsible for their actions. One of the most prominent and noticeable traits of narcissists is their lack of responsibility. They never admit fault, no matter how obvious the issue may be. Instead of facing reality, they perpetually portray themselves as innocent and are quick to shift the blame onto others, circumstances, or any factor other than themselves. In their eyes, they are always right, always perfect, and never wrong. When problems arise, they skillfully flip the script, redirecting attention and responsibility onto you. Suddenly, you become the culprit, the sole bearer of blame, while they remain unscathed, even openly criticizing you without remorse. When shifting blame, they wield sharp words, criticism, and accusations without hesitation. For instance, if a project fails, instead of acknowledging their mistakes, they might say, "If it weren't for you messing everything up, we would have succeeded," or "I warned you, but you didn't listen. Now look where we are." Such remarks not only hurt, but also make you feel as though you're genuinely at fault, even when you're not the primary cause. This is their way of protecting their fragile ego, by tearing others down to uphold their image of perfection. For narcissists, truth and fairness are never priorities. The only thing they care about is preserving their flawless image in their own eyes and those of others. They are willing to distort facts, ignore logic, and even manipulate others' emotions just to evade accountability. This behavior not only causes emotional pain to those around them, but also utterly destroys trust in relationships. No one wants to be around someone who consistently avoids responsibility and refuses to admit mistakes, as it only exacerbates problems. Living with a narcissist feels like being trapped in an endless cycle of blame and criticism. You'll constantly be cast as the scapegoat, bearing the consequences of their actions. You'll wrestle with guilt, questioning whether you are truly at fault, and gradually feel drained by the relentless accusations. For instance, if a relationship begins to falter, they might say, "Everything was fine until you started changing." Such blame not only leaves you feeling disappointed, but also places the entire burden squarely on your shoulders. Ultimately, a narcissist's irresponsibility not only erodes trust, but also leads to the disintegration of relationships. Whether in family, love, or work, no one wants to stay with someone who never takes accountability and always shifts the blame onto others. Narcissists build their inflated egos on the suffering and ruin of those around them. They fail to realize that denying responsibility doesn't make them stronger, it only isolates them further. Eventually, those around them will feel exhausted and leave, abandoning them to their fragile, hollow egos they've fought so hard to protect. Identifying covert narcissists can be challenging, but with the insights shared, I hope you now have the tools to protect yourself from toxic relationships. Remember, you deserve to be treated with respect, love, and understanding. Don't let anyone, including covert narcissists, manipulate or diminish your self-worth. If you find yourself trapped in a relationship with a covert narcissist, don't hesitate to seek help from a mental health professional. They can be your companion, guiding you through the healing process and helping you rediscover peace and strength within yourself. Thank you for watching this video. Please share it with your loved ones to spread awareness about mental health, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button to stay updated with our future videos.